Hello, my name is Dr. Esquire Mr. Carrot Cake. I am a very high tier comedian, and I am here to teach you the art of joke crafting. Um, you know, I'm very experienced, I have many years of research, I teach classes all the time on how to be funny. Um, but you can't just be funny. Sometimes people are, they're rare. Sometimes they're a little bit funny. But you have to really know how to make jokes and how to craft them in a way. So, what is a joke? A joke is something to get laughs. Alright, so there are many ways to get laughs with, your jokes and everything. But here are the main ways to get laughs with jokes. Um, we're starting off with beginner strategies. These are easy tip for newbies. This will get you started so that you may, you know, slowly learn. Of course, I put a humorous joke up on the screen if you see that. I'm not saying you're dummies. Okay, it's just a joke. Okay, you gotta start getting into the humor stuff. This is something that will be taught later on with the insulting and so on. This is just beginner. This is just beginner. Just focus on this stuff. So, where to start? You have to start with a joke type. This is very important as each joke will have their own subtypes, and this is, of course, beginner. So, there aren't too many options, but here are the main ones. First, you have regular structured jokes. These are fairly simple. You just regurgitate them very easily. They will get a nice chuckle. Next, you have dad jokes. These are, witty and they could be a little bit complex. But there are dad jokes situational. These are recommended to be the final step in your beginner journey. Do not rush them out first because these are hard. Hard to do, hard to hit with. Trust me. You will regret if you go straight in this thinking you can handle it because it's very difficult. So, on with structured jokes. Here are the examples. You have knock knock jokes. These are your first forte. A knock knock joke is simple yet complex. It usually starts with a question, which they guess, and they're probably going to fail, which then you pull out an answer. It isn't too complex. You can find them online, many of them, in many sorts of different medias that will really fit your style. One of the examples I have is I'm going to do this off the top of my head. I am, comedic master. I teach my classics. I have many colleagues who praise me for my comedic work. But let me think of one real quick. So I say knock knock, and if you answered you're there right now, who's there? Sorry, you know, uh, who's there? Then you're already 10 steps ahead. Okay, you're already 10 steps ahead, and maybe knock knock jokes aren't at your level yet. You're above, but they answer with who's there, and then you say um like a banana. Okay? And they say, banana who? And then you say, banana glad, you're not an orange. uh, so you next have chicken crossroad jokes. These are fairly, fairly simple. Um, the main thing about it is you got to know what the chicken crossed. It's got to cross the road to get somewhere. The part you fill in is the somewhere. There are many online sources for these types of jokes. These can hit hard. For example, why did the chicken cross the road? To get to the other side. Oh man. That's see, you're probably laughing right now. Good. Because that ooh, that's good. That's good. Trust me. You won't be disappointed pulling one of these out. And, people at the party are going to be like, whoa, that was hilarious, man. And you might get a little bit of belly laugh. But, really good. Really good. Onward to the next one is the miscellaneous jokes. These are just, you throw them out like, uh, you throw them out like, miscellaneous jokes. Um, what'd the orange say to the apple? Apple? Fuck. Let me retry that. What did the orange say to the apple? Orange, you glad to see me? Now that's good. That's good. But structured jokes, they're simple. They're easy. You can always reconstruct them. You can look them up. These are your go-to for beginner lessons to get you far into the stratosphere of comedy. Nice point where people will laugh. But if you want to take a little bit step further, we go into the dad jokes. These are the regular dad jokes, not the advanced ones. These are simple. Not as simple as the structured jokes, but these are usually questions and then answers. For example, for dad jokes, you have stuff like, what do you call, when does a car stop being a car? Whenever it's in the parking lot. Okay, that one got me. So what you want to do is it's really dependent on the time, but usually the question and the answer come right after another. But sometimes you want to wait. Dramatic effect is really hard hitting. You have other sources such as maybe you really want to hear what they're going to answer with. It might lead to something funnier, and so on. But you really want to answer right after. But you could leave the space there. It's very experimental with dad jokes, but you can, of course, all beginner stuff you can find online. You can get a little bit of cues and so on. But moving on, there's another type of regular dad jokes that, may not be as popular, but can still hit hard. But first, let's dissect what a pun is. A pun, also known as paranomasia, it's a form of wordplay where you use similar sounding words. There's types of puns like compounded, homographic, homophobic. Those are the main parts of puns that you are really looking for. There are many dad jokes out there. I would, I would suggest really researching more because there are honestly, honestly, very hilarious puns out there, such as why couldn't pony sing and horse? It was little horse. See, it's not too hard to make a funny joke, um, but whenever you do, you probably laugh from that one too. I don't blame you. That was pretty funny. Um, Honestly, you just kind of gotta live and let live sometimes. It's not too difficult. Trust me, I've been there many times. It's but pun is the really really good thing to do. If you do a little bit of compounded puns or other types. There are specialists in my colleagues. There are many specialists of puns. Um, uh, you know, in my classes, I've had a few students who wish to master puns. I'm not really an expert on them per se. I'm more of a situational humor expert. Um, but speaking of situational humor, we have dad joke situational. This is for the advanced. This is not intermediate or advanced or expert tier. This is just beginner tier, but the very roof of beginner tier. So, like I said, this is very advanced, but still within beginner grasp. You must really embrace um, that this is the top tier and what you should strive for because it has situational, but it's not too situational to where you are having to think of everything on the spot. This is like maybe one or two words or something like that. But what do you need to make this dad joke situational? You need to have awareness. Awareness of your surroundings. So let's say um, you and I are in a car together. You're my son, I'm your father, and we're driving down the road. Um, what you need to do is whenever you hear something that could be usable for a situational dad joke, you need to have awareness. You should focus only on that. Don't focus on anything else going around you, and just focus on that. We're going to the park Sunday afternoon. We've ate lunch like maybe a few hours ago. Uh, but you are just driving and you hear something, but you're nervous. Oh, what happens if it doesn't go well? You have to be confident. You have to be confident that even if it goes bad, you might still get a laugh. But do not jump the gun. Many colleagues I've seen rise and fall because they've jumped the gun with dad jokes that are situational and it just ruins, the whole joke. Don't be too scared. You gotta be confident to be able to jump in there, but don't jump the gun. You might hear something funnier later on that could be used. So, back to the scenario. I'm driving. You say, Father, I am famished. I close out everything around me. I'm not driving anymore. In my mind, I'm focusing on the words. I'm gonna be confident. I think this is my time, but I'm gonna wait a few seconds to let it sink in before I say, Hi, famished, I'm father. And then eruption of laughter should occur. 9 times out of 10, people will laugh. Unless they have Asperger's, um, you know, they should laugh. You got it's complex. I can't teach a beginner instantly to jump into this, so you have to grasp the other stuff before it really clicks inside your head, unless you're a prodigy, but it should click inside your head after a while. All right. That was beginner jokes. Let's move on to intermediate jokes. This is where we start really breaching the inner machinations of laughter. So, there are two types of intermediate jokes that I teach my students. Why do I only teach two? Because it's really there are many different types, but intermediate is really hard hitting. And if you go too far out into the sphere, you'll never improve to advanced. And you might be stuck at beginner, but these two are good starting points. Either way, even if you want to broaden out inside the intermediate joke sphere, or you want to stay here, it's really difficult to, you know, explain the psychological developments with my students. But I do gotta say, you know, these hit hard. So, before I go over Yo Mama jokes, I first need to go over apologizing and failed jokes. Jokes and being funny is an art form. Many people don't realize that whenever they are starting their careers in comedy. But you will make mistakes. You will make mistakes. There's no way God, I don't know how long it's been since I made a mistake in my jokes. It's been maybe, oh God, I can't even think of. It's been so long, but still, I used to make mistakes, and maybe the mistakes were you offended somebody. Because coming up on the Yo Mama jokes, you can offend somebody. You might take it too far. If you go too far into the joke, you might either lose the funny factor, or you might insult them too far and they might be rude. They might be mad. Or you might say something too crude with the crude and people might be grossed out or maybe even offended somehow. But what you must do is apologize. And nothing grand. You just have to say, hey, I'm trying out something new. I apologize for offending you or whatever happened. I just hope you understand and we can move on from this, in a peaceful manner that will benefit both of us. I'll keep that in mind. It'll be noted down in my notebook. And I'll get you to laugh someday. And then after that, just move on. Move on. It's art. Mozart didn't make the Mona Lisa in a day. You have to do trial and error, which brings me to failed jokes. With failed jokes, too. Sometimes jokes don't land. It's rare. It's rare. My students, it's rare. But I've seen other students where it just fails. For one reason or another. And, same with the apologizing for offending. It's like, I apologize. I'm new to this. I'm starting my craft. Maybe it's my 50th or first time, but, Mozart didn't make Slam Piece or whatever the fuck it's called in one day. Sorry, I'm jumping ahead to crude with that F word. But yeah, just move on after. Alright, now we can get into Yo Mama's jokes. So, Yo Mama jokes is, in essence, insulting. Not insulting the person, but their mother. You do have to be cautious and be merciful, because if you're too hard hitting, it's gonna lead to problems and you might need to apologize after. But the essence of the joke is you gotta start with Yo Mama, hence the name Yo Mama jokes. So with it, you will say Yo Mama, and that's the slam sucker punch in there that really catches out. It's like the first string, first chord inside of a concert. But after you say Yo Mama, you might be like, oh, what do I say after? Usually it goes, Yo Mama is so blank that she blank. Now, Yo Mama jokes are really good from going up from beginner, because you can just insert anything within those two blanks. Sure, it's not fully structured out for you, but there's, most of the formulas are structured out. For example, Yo Mama is so angry that she yelled at you once you got home. Oh, usually it's accompanied by O's sometimes, but I'm sorry if I apologize if that actually offended you. You know, again, let's move on from this. But I'm not an expert into Yo Mama jokes. Again, situational humor expert, not Yo Mama joke expert. Um, Person who does, Brody Fox. One of my colleagues, Brody Fox, very, very, uh, you know, very, very meticulous with the Yo Mama jokes that's outputted from that channel. That I would suggest, you check them out. Learn Yo Mama jokes if you really want to master Yo Mama joke craft and become as good as Brody Fox. But what about Crude and Loud? Crude and Loud. Crude is all about being vulgar. You really gotta put in those words. Maybe, gotta be a little crass. Throw in some curse words, some sexual jokes. You know, don't go overboard, with the curse words and the crassest sexual jokes. Crude is very barbaric. Um, it can be easy to do in the intermediate. Mom jokes are easier because you don't have to think as hard, but crude jokes they can really be out there. Okay. Crude joke example being, you call me, and you're like, hey, what are you doing right now? And I'm like, I'm masturbating with my penis right now inside my room to your voice. That would be a crude joke. Um, you know, Not going too far, but still, it can land in some circles. I'm not really all about crude humor. I'm more sophisticated, um, and I'm more elevated with my humor understanding. Not to go against the crude humor experts, but there are higher forms that I would suggest learning other than crudeness. But loudness, I'll be honest, being an expert, I don't know much about, you know, loud humor. Of course, it's noise and loud equals funny, like screaming and loud music and stuff like that. I don't really know much about it, so, if you want to, you could probably find experts out there to teach you that. I'm just going over a brief overview of everything to try to get you an understanding. Okay. So now we are really going into probably the final, definitely the final step for pretty much most people. Um, Advanced. This is where you get the biggest laughs you can get imaginable. Advanced, I would suggest two types. You have edgy jokes and you have rude jokes. I only show two because advanced types, they are the most complex to learn about, and you have to really, and I mean really, be ready for your craft to understand these. So, I only show two so you aren't overwhelmed by the options, and you can't just be a jack of all trades because that won't get you anywhere. So, edgy jokes. Edgy jokes are a sister to crude jokes. They share similarities with how they are structured in terms of crassness and so on. It can be dangerous to say, these edgy jokes. I'm not really an expert upon them because I don't reach out to them, but I offer this so that people who really want to see the darker side of comedy can really take a pinch out of this. It's dangerous. Now, whenever I say it's dangerous, you may be like, oh yeah, people might get mad. Um, my friend, really good friend of mine, he was up on a comedy stand, and he was doing a stage performance, and he tried to forte into an edgy joke, and he instantly combusted in flames. It's sad. It's really sad. I watched him turn into ash, all of his skin melt off. You know, these are just dangerous jokes to say, because I didn't know spontaneous combustion was real until he said that edgy joke, and he just burst into flames. Um, but be aware, crowds, because you don't want to be saying these edgy jokes in front of your family unless they're like your cool uncle or something, something like that. Um, but also, it's dark humor for a reason. Here's what I mean by that. Here is a edgy joke I had written up. I childproofed my house. Somehow they still got in. See, I don't. You might find that funny, but that's just sick. It's just sick to me, especially after watching my friend turn into ash in front of my eyes and holding the ash, and we didn't have to cremate him, but it's sad. It's really sad. Um, do it at your own peril. Okay, rude jokes. This is the brother to yo mama jokes. So taking intermediate and moving to advanced. That's also why I put these two subtypes of advanced jokes in here and the two types of intermediate, because they are brother and sister with the pairs of the intermediate tier. So again, know your crowd. Advanced tier is all about knowing your crowd. You're not going to say this to your little kid sister or whatever, because you don't want to be too mean. You say this to your mom, she'll yell at you. You say this to your dad, he'll beat you with a belt. Okay? Be considerate. Don't laugh at a guy in a wheelchair. Well, unless it's funny. But, be considerate. Be considerate of others. You don't want somebody doing a rude joke to you, right? That'll hurt your ego, and you might not be as funny next. But really, to do rude jokes, you have to look at features of the person to attack. And you could do personality traits to attack. So, for example, somebody has a big nose, you could be like, I could put a cup on that. And they'd be like, damn, okay. And that might really hurt their feelings. You could look at traits like, oh, I smell burning. You thinking too hard? If they're really like slow in the head. Of course, don't say this to somebody too stupid, or else they might be offended. Then you have to apologize and explain the whole ordeal. Of course, we went over that earlier, but look out for these features and personality traits that you could attack, but not be considerate. Be considerate. Don't attack the ones that they really get hurt over. Just be, observant. Awareness, like in the dad jokes part. Situational dad jokes. Awareness. Awareness and knowing your crowd. Very important steps. Alright. Hate to say it, but this is the end. That's all I can teach you. Go be funny. Okay, I got you. That's at the end. I'm going to tell you the expert jokes secrets that I know of. Of course, not all my secrets, because that might ruin the fun. So, let's start out with situational humor. True situational humor. This is too difficult for you. Sadly, I cannot teach you anything. I know. You were expecting me to teach you something, but really, this is for the masters of masters. I spent years upon years studying my craft to be able to reach this level of situational humor. You must know that I wish I could teach you, but this is a journey of yourself. I'm only telling you about true situational humor so that you may see what the door looks like, and then maybe eventually you'll be able to enter that and explore for yourself. But I will tell you about interjections because this is the expert one. That's not too far, but still will probably kill a crowd with how funny it is. So, you want to insert it. Interjections. Insert it fast and hard into the thing you're doing, Just insert fast and hard. Um, you gotta say funny words or a couple words. So, you wanna say it fast and hard into them and their, words so they laugh, You don't want to go too fast though. Too fast and too hard. Because that might cause problems. Same with the dad jokes. Be confident, but don't jump the gun. Um, Here are a couple examples of the interjections that I have prepared. One being, booyah! So if somebody's like, yeah, we just did that, you could be like, booyah! And that just like elevates the joke. And so many people have laughed because funny interjections. It's actually a situational humor as well, but not like true situational humor. But it is situational humor in and of itself. Um, Someone's mocking you or something like that. You want to mock somebody that's trying to make a funny joke. You'd be like, hardy har har. That one, you know, that one gets somebody riled up. You should be careful with that one, of course. But the final one, I will say, this is a new age one. I've heard about this recently from some of my colleagues from the younger ages, from like a game or something. But something bad happens, like somebody's like, yeah, my whole family died in a car accident. The father was listening to your dad joke advice and he just wasn't paying attention to the road. So he crashed and my whole family died. You'd be like, oof! And that just, that'll turn a sad moment into a funny one. Laughter is the best medicine, as they say. And, interjections really, really influential. But, sadly, we must wrap this up. This is the true ending. I'm sorry, there wasn't more. This is just just a peek into what you can learn, tips and tricks for beginners, experts, even advanced people can learn from this. Go make funny jokes and strive for the expert tier. I am Dr. Esquire, Mr. Carrot Cake, and thank you. If you are looking for classes, Sundays, you can look up Dr. Esquire, Mr. Carrot Cake classes for comedic talent, and I'm teaching every Sunday. And yeah, thank you very much, and enjoy humor.